Broadcasting from the studios of WKEN, where every day it's the weekend. It's the Ken Calvert Show with your host, Ken Calvert.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Ken Calvert Show podcast, broadcasting live from WKEN, where each and every minute it's the weekend. Today, we're going to talk with Kirk Gibson. I have known Kirk and Joanne Gibson for over 30 years. How do I describe Kirk Gibson? I would say Kirk is one fierce human being. Everything Kirk Gibson does comes bundled with passion, focus, and intensity, the likes of which I have never seen before. Let's talk about the 2 home runs that Kirk hit in 2 different World Series 4 years apart. The first was October 14th, 1984 in Detroit. That dinger came off of Goose Gossage. The other, October 15th, 1988 in L.A., against Dennis Eckersley. That was the same year that Gibby won the NL MVP. Gibby was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2015. As you're going to hear in the podcast, the symptoms came on slowly. He'll tell you all about it, but he'll tell you when he knew something was wrong, something wasn't right. I want to put this out there. A lot of people have criticized Kirk Gibson over the years for having a short fuse. I remember reporters saying he could be rude. He was one of the toughest post-game interviews they ever had to do. Well, he'll agree with that. Fans asking for an autograph often got less than a friendly giant, and he'll talk about that. But I was on the clock, as you'll hear throughout the podcast. So let's get this party started. I'm officially on the clock starting now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome number 23, Kirk Gibson.
You know what's interesting? Kirk Gibson made his major league debut, his very first at-bat in the big leagues, against Goose Gossage. That's a great way to break in. And Gossage struck him out on 3 pitches.
Blew him away, Sparky says.
And maybe because of that, Gossage is saying, I can get him. Well, we'll see. The infield is up. They give Gibson the left field foul line. Brown is in left. And there it goes! And look who's coming up. All year long, they look to him to light the fire, and all year long, he answered the demands. High fly ball into right field. She is gone! In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened. They are going wild at Dodger Stadium. No one wants to leave.
How long you got?
How long you got?
About 5 minutes.
Oh, come on. You son, come on. Kirk Gibson, my guest. I'll do the setup later then if I've got to hustle along that much.
No, you're good.
You know what I just...
What do you need, 30, 45 minutes?
I could do 2 hours with you, brother. I could do...
When's it going to be on?
Probably will be later tonight.
All right, sounds good, buddy.
Well, because I've got to edit. I've got to edit me out and leave you all in. I've been sitting here. Do you know how nervous?
Why would you edit you out?
Well, you know that's what you do on TV when you broadcast for the Tigers. You ask those sort of questions. You used to ask them to Mario, but he's no longer there. Are you getting that gig, by the way, Kirk Gibson? Are you going to be more of a regular on the Tiger broadcasts?
I think I'll try and do basically what I normally do.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't do 160 games or even 100 games. I think I did around 80 this year, and yeah, that's a challenge. I got a lot of other things going on, and you know what I deal with, so I have to leave time to rejuvenate and recover from certain things, and
I want to get to that at some point. I would rather start with the anniversary. 30-year anniversary of the blast, as called by Vin Scully in 1988 against Dennis Eckersley. A limping Kirk Gibson comes to the plate. It's do or die. You crushed it. Walk me through it real quick, can you?
Yeah, it wasn't do or die.
Well, it was game one, but it was still the ninth, right?
Yeah, but it was exciting. It was a great opportunity. I was hurt and didn't think I'd be able to play. But when moments call like that, there's a way to turn it around in your mind of what's going to happen. It would have been easy to sit there and predict failure. And, I worked hard on my mental picture of what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And once you know it, it happened. Now, I will say that many times I'd worked on my mental picture to make what I wanted to happen, and it didn't happen. But, it's just kind of who I am and what I believe in is that even though you failed 1,000 times in a row, this one may be the big one. And in that case, it was, I guess, I didn't even realize at the time how it would live on in the part of baseball history that it is. So,
well,
I'm honored. It's cool.
It was an encore, though, for us here in Detroit, 1984. That was a shot. That one's kind of hard to forget because I was there and I saw it, and it was the most incredible moment of my life. You and Goose, right? Wasn't it Gossage?
Yeah, it was Gossage, and actually that happened on October 14th, and then that was 84, and then in 88, 4 years later, it was October 15th. So, when I get around October 14th, 15th, I'm like, all right, what's going to happen? Is it going to be good? And I was trying to think, what was that date when I was playing weatherman in the middle of the night on the St. Clair River, Ken Calvert.
Oh.
That was like July, though.
Nowhere on my list of things to talk about was our 3-hour cruise. Our 3-hour cruise.
Well, we got safely home. We had to take a cab, but we did avoid the tornadoes.
Okay, let's start here. It started basically in Waterford, then Michigan State, where you were all world, right?
I wasn't all world. I don't have a plaque that says all world on it. Hey, you know what I was when I went to Michigan State?
What were you?
All third team honorable mention Oakland County.
Yeah, but they took a chance on a guy that had a heart of gold.
But just think of that. I came in and remember Curtis Griffin from Brother Rice. He was, I think, All-State. It might have been an All-American. Eugene Bird, Parade All-American, All-State. There I was, honorable mention Oakland County. It doesn't matter what other people think about you. It doesn't matter what you got inside yourself.
Did you play on both sides of the ball?
No. I did return punts and kickoffs for a while, but that was not fun. Look out!
Right. I still don't know how anyone can do that. Just find the ball and then say, okay, ready, set, go. You were drafted, right, by the St. Louis Cardinals as a tight end.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I was already playing baseball. I signed baseball as a junior in college, and then I told everybody I wasn't going to play football. I couldn't play football. I agreed with the Tigers. If they drafted me, then I wouldn't go play football. So, but they did it, and they wanted to. They wanted me to, go to court and try and get out of it. But I didn't want to do that. I'd made my decision not to play baseball because I thought it was a better career, and it was very challenging for sure. And I just thought, I could play it longer, which I did. I won 2 world championships in baseball. So I had made up my mind, and with the opportunity to be a Tiger, I remember going to bat day around my birthday most years, getting that Louisville Slugger and banging it on the concrete. It's amazing that stadium stood for as long as it did because people just beat it up.
Oh, man.
And but that was good times. They knew that. And I got into baseball because my football coach, Darryl Rogers, asked me if I wanted to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. I said, yeah, of course I do.
Yeah.
He said, go play baseball. So I didn't correlate. Wait a minute, go play baseball? I hadn't played, since high school. He said, yep, because if you do anything in baseball, you're going to have great leverage in football. And I had a good year. I got drafted, and I signed as a professional baseball player under one condition, and that was that I could come back and play my senior year of football at Michigan State, because you can be an amateur in one sport and a pro in another at that time. And that's what we did, and it was a really fun year. My senior year was fun.
Any regrets that you didn't play football?
No, I don't regret it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was lucky to win a couple of world championships, great teammates, great experiences, great failures, good successes along the way.
But do you ever wonder what it would have been like to play in the NFL?
I know what it would have been like.
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
No, well, I mean, football is football.
Yeah.
I'd have to learn how to run out of bounds, which I didn't want to do. But I like contact. But football is just way, not to slight baseball's physical requirements, because it doesn't look like much. You're not having the contact aspect, but you are playing every day. You are running every day. You are turning, twisting, traveling. Each sport has its challenges. I think I'd have been a good player in the NFL.
Yeah.
Until I couldn't deal with the pain anymore, and then
I think you would have been a Gronkowski kind of guy.
Well, I was a wideout in college, so I think they probably would have moved me in and out, because my speed was a great advantage, real good.
So you answered my question. You still think about it sometime.
I answer all your questions.
All right. Well, I have so many more. I wanted to ask you about the little dust-up between Michigan State this past weekend. Talk to me about that walk that the Spartans do at game time, where you walk arm in arm down the field, and Devin Bush and a couple of others were there and didn't get out of the way. I mean, the coaches know it happens, players know it happens, so I'd love your take on that.
Well, my take is shit happens.
Okay.
I mean, I like it because, well, wait a minute. There's an aspect of it which I like, okay? I like when people show up to play football or play baseball and don't have just a nice little game. Like I feel like sometimes that's what you're seeing. I mean, it's supposed to be competitive. You're supposed to claim your turf. You're supposed to challenge your opponent, yourselves, and you got to back it up. So I merely, everybody did what they had to do, and a little friction came out of it. I think it's good to before a game to get it going. I like the little extra intensity. I like a little of that extra FU,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like, I see games now that are somewhat, there's not friction in, which is okay. You're not going to have it every day, but most of the time, I think you got to say, bring it on, and they need to say, you bring it on, and I think you got to bring it on.
Yeah.
And I like it, like, for instance, I was kind of one of those guys that started some crap because I just
Really?
had a knack for doing it. Yeah.
Oh, really? No kidding, huh? Yeah.
And you know what? When you say you're going to do something or you challenge somebody, and you've got to back it up. So it challenges you. It challenges your team. And there's a little edge on it. So what? Now, I will say this.
Yeah.
When I would do something like that, sometimes Sparky would actually ask me, the boys are a little tight. Why don't you do something foolish, big boy? So One time Brian Bragg, I don't know if you remember him, he came in.
Of course
I
I
aired
do.
him
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
in between a doubleheader.
Yeah.
And, I was way out of line, but Sparky wanted me to do it because he says the boys are a little tight, and he figured if everybody was on me, they'd be off everybody else, and he'd say, "You can take it, big boy." So I walk in, and he'd say, "Can you take it?" I said, "Take what?" He goes, "Can you take it?" I said, "Yeah, I can take it."
Yeah.
And he give me my assignment. So all that is kind of falls under that. So Devin Bush does what he's got to do. He's stopping at center. He said, "Put it on my shoulders." And you know what? It got everybody else going too.
Yeah.
I believe in engaging the competition. I believe in backing up what you say. And it doesn't, what bothered me about it is that we lost.
Of course.
But as far as the actual, people analyze it till the cows come home, which that they're still not there, by the way.
Yeah.
So that means they're still analyzing it.
Right.
But
yeah.
I just don't get wound up in that stuff. It's part of the game. It was a good challenge. One guy challenged another guy. He tried to stand up. He tried to stand up. And it's good. I like intensity.
I think it's healthy for the game. I think that if it lingers, if it's going to recirculate again for years, don't you think?
I like Harbaugh, and for him, it finally gave him something that he could talk about and stand behind.
Yeah.
And this is just an observation, but I don't know. But we talked in Arizona one time before I got fired. He's a beauty. I know a lot of people that know him, and I respect him a lot. But he got a little quiet this year. It's like somebody might have told him that you need to tone it down a little bit, and he has. But it's not him. And gave him a chance to join the conversation, and he's a beauty. It's like it hurts him so bad when he fails or his team fails, and they put the camera on him. I love watching him because I know the feeling. Yeah. It just kills him. This guy cares. He's passionate.
He found a bullhorn, though, in the last week or so.
Yeah, well, they won, so he's going to be he'll probably be a little blowing that horn a little more, won't he?
Yeah, I think so.
He deserves it.
All right.
Got to give him credit. They played a hell of a game.
Boy, a diplomat all of a sudden. Hey, why did you get a reputation as a bad guy when it came to dealing with the press and sometimes the public back in the early 80s?
How much time do we have?
As much time as you'll give me.
Wait. Oh, why did I have a reputation? I was abrasive, and I challenged people, and I wasn't always right, but sometimes it was. Mm-hmm. To be quite honest with you, I went to Michigan State as really a nobody, and I ended up having a pretty decent career. And it happened quickly, and then I was real quickly the next Mickey Mantle. And I was a first-round draft pick, and I was, All-American in 2 sports. And I just didn't know how to handle the situation socially. I'd almost say I had a social disorder. What I knew how to do was put my game face on and engage. And that meant when I put my uniform on, this is just the way I was, it's like it was time to work. And that's kind of was my company line, I guess you could say. So when people would come up and say, hey, I'd like an interview right here, do you get some time? I'd say, no, I'm sorry. Did you see I got my uniform on? Oh, man, excuse me. I'm sorry, excuse me. I just went to turbo mode. It's just how I was. And I didn't, frankly, understand their role as well. It took me a while, and, now I do that. I'm on the other side, and I get it. But, I just call it immature, call it just, having some type of social disorder. But it took me a while to learn how to talk to people because You know what? Here's the best way I can tell you.
Okay.
You walk in a football locker room, you get your pads on, and you go to practice, and you're trying to physically and mentally dominate your opponent.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
You can agree? Okay?
Yep.
So that's what you do. Okay?
Yep.
It's like kill. And back in the day, we used our helmets as attack weapons, and that's what we were taught. Okay, so now we go through 3 hours of that. You're in a rage. You're hitting people contact. You know, you take great pride in being the guy that initiates and finishes the contact. So now all of a sudden you walk in and you take your shoulder pads off and you take a shower, and you're supposed to be a nice guy. And I had a hard time doing that. It didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I was looking for the switch to turn it off. It didn't work that way.
Yeah. No, I totally get that now. I mean, actually, in a strange way, I totally get it. You have to do literally a 180 and say, okay, the game's over. Now I'm going to be Kirk Gibson, the nice guy who's going to answer your questions. And maybe you're just not in the mood to do that. Maybe that's.
But you know, there was a time when I'd say there's times. Obviously, the media's been very fair to me. There's been times they've been unfair to me. But that's just the arena that we're in. That's fine.
Yeah.
And that goes for a lot of people. It's just not me.
Yep.
I mean, but they're trying to do their job, and they make, people aren't perfect, and certainly I'm not, or you're not, or the guy that wants the interview isn't.
Right.
And, sometimes it just doesn't always sync up. What I was a real asshole about, though, was that I probably wasn't very diplomatic and was respectful enough to the people who I was screaming at for no reason at all. Like the cameras back in the mid to late 80s, that's when they really started to get the cameras on the players in the dugout.
Right.
I'd say, get that camera out of my face! I'd be pointing at them, and most of them would do it, but I had a guy in Chicago one time, he just left it on me, and he said, break that $50,000 lens if you want to. I dare you. So I woke up real quick. Yeah, good point.
What do you think of the media now that you're a member of the media?
Well, I mean, I try and do my job professionally. I try and be innovative in presenting my information.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, I got to practice on talking because I have Parkinson's, and
we're gonna.
If I don't,
yeah, and
if I don't do I know we're going to talk. We don't need to talk about it.
I want to.
But the thing about it is I have to practice to do that, and sometimes my voice gets weak, and just like I used to beat myself up after a bad game or my perceived bad game, I do the same thing in the telecast. I do the same thing on TV. I want it to be perfect, and if it doesn't go right, I'm talking about new concepts and sabermetrics and
I know.
Player do this, do that. I got 20 seconds to do it between the next pitch, and sometimes I feel like, dang, I didn't do a very good job, but I just confused them. And I frankly just say, hey, I screwed that one up. It's okay. And I think that there's probably certain people that listen that really can be engaged in that and understand it and enjoy trying to learn. And I think there's probably some that can't stand me, but I just do what I can do. I was the same as a player. People would get on me. I'd be in the on-deck circle. They'd boo me. They'd yell stuff from the stands. You got to take it.
Yeah.
And I will tell you though, it gave me great pleasure to hit the game winner after they ragged me in my 3 strikeouts prior to the game-winning hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just come around and I'd say underneath my voice, stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
I believe you made the fist bump as popular as it's ever been. Just watching you come around going 1, 2, 3, 4. You're as passionate about everything you do as any human I've ever been around. I mean, virtually every single thing you do. whether it be your wonderful wife, Joanne, a.k.a. JoJo, or your family, who are all doing so damn well. I have to do the segue. I have so much I want to ask you about. Do you want to talk about Rod and Mario or not?
Well, let's just make it quick. I honestly
Very
don't.
quickly, for those of you that aren't from Detroit, Rod and Mario, Rod Allen, Mario and Pemba, long time, 18-year partnership as broadcasters here in Detroit for the Detroit Tigers. Nobody realized that they were not getting along, and an argument as foolish as it might sound was over a chair, and it came to blows, and it had to be broken up by other members that were out in the hallway, and they've lost their jobs. And you work side by side with Mario on many occasions, and he's got to be a friend, right, Kirk?
Well, they're both friends, and they're both colleagues, and I wouldn't wish that on either of them. Everybody has differences, I will say, okay?
Of course.
I'm not privy, honestly, to exactly what happened, and we've been informed not to really talk about what we don't know about, because it's an internal matter, and we respect that. Let me say this about Mario and I are very good friends. I really appreciate his professionalism and the way he did his job and the way he picked me up and the way he carried my weak act at times, okay? Very good friends, okay? Rod Allen was a teammate of mine. He's a colleague of mine and a friend of mine. And, Mario has his style and Rod has his style and I have my style. I respect Rod because when I got fired as manager, I got asked to come back. Rod was doing all the games, okay? He had to give up part of his games to me, and he did so. Now, I knew that was a hard pill to swallow for him, okay? Mm-hmm. Because the Tigers asked me to come back. Actually, John Toohey, who was very supportive of me, asked me if I'd consider coming back and do some games. So I did that. So there's like a dynamic between everybody for whatever reason. There's good, there's bad, and there's indifferent, and sometimes it gets ugly. And this thing has turned into ugly in that it's talked about so much of who knows what really happened. I look at it, it's so unfortunate that two guys who have such a footprint for the Tigers and what they did, because if you go, I watched the game, okay? Did anybody know anything happened?
No.
Okay?
I didn't.
Okay? So, those guys, look, you have differences with people in your life, and I have too, and with my teammates, but, you still have the same common goal, so you get after it. You put aside, you get after it. Brothers fight. Friends fight. So, I didn't realize it was going to be as big as it is.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate for me. I enjoyed working with those guys. I know how bad they must feel, and I've talked to them both, and from a friend's standpoint, and if there's anything I can do for any of them, I will do it.
Yeah.
I hear they're not coming back. My wish is that there's a spot for them still.
Right.
That's my wish. But I don't control that.
Yeah.
And lessons learned for everybody, I hope. But one day you seem so invincible, and the next you're not. That's happened to me before. It happened to Rod and Mario.
Yeah.
And you got the boot one day, didn't you, Kenny?
Kirk. Yeah, it was, back the car in, get the envelope through the car window. 16 years in a building, and they said, it's time to make a change. And it hurts, man. It hurts, and that's why, I love doing what I'm doing. But yes, as I always said, a morning show, especially if you work with, and I hope that the women listening understand this, when you work with a female, it's a sexless marriage because of the fact that you spend more time on the air, off the air, doing appearances in other events with that person, and than you do with your own wife. And arguments happen. I mean, disagreements occur, but the show's working, so by God, do whatever you have to do to make the show work. And that was always at least my attempt. And I think that you've done that your entire life. So
yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm 61. I'll be 62 in May.
You don't look. I mean, really, you sure don't look that.
Well, I probably look about 80, but it's okay. But you know what? I had a good day yesterday. I'm having a good day today, and we're having some good time right now.
Yeah.
So far, it's been 29 minutes and 38 seconds of fun.
Well, okay. So who's keeping count? I got 20.
Me.
I got us turning 30 right now. All right, here we go. I've got 3 or 4 things left to ask you. All right. Number 1, how are the kids doing?
Kids are doing great, but you know it's a challenge. Everybody's got kids out there knows. Anybody who thinks that you have your kids, they grow up and you leave school, they leave school and they're gone for good, I disagree. Now some families do that, but our kids are our best friends, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's just too damn much fun being with them and being around them. You know, consequently, sometimes we over-worry. So,
yeah.
Can you, I mean, there's people listening out here that can relate to that.
Yep.
You want them, you want to do that. So, but you just got to learn to lay out. So, we're still learning lessons here at 61 years old. Will to the last day that I take a breath on this earth. When I was a manager, I learned. When I played baseball for all those years, I learned to the last second. There's a lot out there to learn, so learn it and enjoy it. And with your kids, it's even better. That's kind of how we feel in the Gibson household.
How's Cam doing? He was drafted by the Tigers, 5th round, 160 overall. Is he going to make the big club?
You have to ask him someday. I would hope so. I mean, he's made improvements. He's, I think that maybe there's pressure that he puts upon himself like his dad did. Mm-hmm. He's got to learn to think about and trust the right things. I think players today generally overanalyze their swing too much. There's a whole game that goes on within the game about what makes you successful to hit, okay?
Yeah.
It's not just thinking about your swing and being so dang technical that
the new
you get brain locked.
Yeah, the launch angle now, that whole whatever cybermetric that.
Yeah, I got your launch angle right here, okay?
Okay.
I mean, it's terminology. You know what? Look at, in all fairness, this terminology. Everybody uses different terminology, and talking about Cam, I'd say, hey, you get with your coaches and whatever they're working with you with, you get your own terminology so they know what to say to you when certain things happen. It's like your own slang, your own lingo.
Yeah.
So launch angle is a way to describe hitting the ball in the air. They frankly hit the ball farther or out of the park more often, it seems, than we did in our era. I mean, I see Lindor from Cleveland hitting the bombs the opposite way, and I thought, man, I couldn't hit the ball that hard that way. I guess I wasn't as strong as these youngsters. But you know what? In fairness, they weight train different. Their conditioning is different, and they use lighter bats, so they have more bat speed than probably we did. I used the big 35 or 35-33. Somewhere in that area.
You're talking ounces now?
Yeah, talking ounces.
That's a heavy bat, man.
Yeah, but when it hit, it flew. But you know what? It's heavier to swing. It's heavier to control your launch angle.
I got your launch angle right here. What about Kevin? How's he doing in hockey?
I think this is Kevin's last year. He's doing good. He loves the game. He loves his fun. He's a good kid. He's put a lot of work in this off season with my foundation, and he's taken up an interest in that as all the kids are starting to dip in that a little bit, and I appreciate the help. But, Kevin, they're all got good girls right now.
Yeah.
And I suspect I'm going to probably be going to some weddings not too far off.
Good.
And maybe a grandpa someday soon.
I hope so, too. All right, now, I got to ask you. I know you're getting busy. I can tell you're moving around. You're shifting. I want to talk to you about Parkinson's. When did you realize something wasn't right?
Like diagnosed in April of 15, I probably went 5 to 7 years before that where stuff happened that I thought, well, that was weird. It's unusual. God, what happened? Well, I was pulling my bow and arrow back one day. When you pull a bow back, you kind of pull your scapulas of your shoulders together, and you kind of lock in there, and you aim, and you make a good shot. I was doing that, and all of a sudden I couldn't hold it anymore. I just let go, I thought. And that was in 2007, and so that was 8 years later. I realized that was part of it. I was shaving with my right hand on the razor, and my left hand started clutching. That was in 2007 as well. Mm-hmm. Why is that doing that? And then 8 years later, we know that it was part of Parkinson's. But, I had all these mysterious things just pop up, and it was most of them were on my left side. So, we had neck surgery, we had knee surgery, we had shoulder surgery. I had some things I had to deal with, like, side and intercostal on the left side, now it's on the right side. So we did surgeries, and we thought it'd make it better, but it really didn't. This disease just kind of affects you in more ways.
Yeah.
And, I know it's progressing, yet I'm doing everything I can. That's my way, is to not give into it. It's not to be bummed out about it. It's to try and engage to it. And it's to do as much activity as I can. Now, I got a lot of sleep last night. I went to bed at midnight and got up at 4:30.
That's a lot of... Come on. Wait, stop. That's a lot of sleep?
Well, I was trying to support the fact that I said that I'm on the go all the time.
Okay.
But I don't...
But I thought that may have been... excuse me. I thought that may have been a subset of Parkinson's. Difficulty sleeping.
It is.
Okay.
It is. That is one of the things. Constipation would be another thing. I mean, there's things that you have normal function in, that people are listening, that when you, or if you have Parkinson's, it's different. You have to concentrate. Now, you can deal with all these things, by doing therapy, by taking medication, and, adjusting your diet, exercise. There's so many things that they've come up with, and we try and focus on that. Like right now, I did the Big and Loud program. That's one of the first things you do. Because when you have Parkinson's, your movements become like small movements. They shuffle.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give you a poem to look up.
Yep.
And you should post it at the end of this podcast.
I will.
It's called Smaller. It's about Parkinson's, so you know where to go. Like if you go to YouTube and just punch in on the search menu, "Smaller Parkinson's poem," this poem will come up, and it kind of tells you about being smaller. So your movements are smaller, your voice becomes soft. You have mask face. Like you look at my face, it's kind of like you got a mask on. Doesn't work a lot. That's another thing. So, it's normal things that you normally do easily become, I shuffle when I walk. My left hand clutches up. My left arm doesn't like to swing. So, I try and practice it, but it's exhausting. So, now I'm like, I don't care. I mean, it is what it is, and I'm trying to raise awareness about this disease.
Yeah.
Trying to raise money to help people.
Yeah, you've raised how much?
Who's counting?
Well,
We've,
the people.
I mean, all together,
Yeah.
we're probably over a couple $1 million,
Yeah.
$3 million. But I didn't raise it. Okay. The support groups, people that come out of the woodwork when they found out I had Parkinson's, is incredible. My Michigan State family has been great. JoJo and the kids have been great. My extended family has been great. It's just, I'm such into teamwork and believe in it so much, and it's amazing what they bring to you when you have a disease like this. And it excites me.
Yeah.
It fuels me, and it keeps me dedicated to try and help people be aware of what's going on in their body.
Yeah.
And understanding how to deal with the symptoms and living with it everyday life, and then ultimately find a cure.
All right. I'm going to just 2 more questions. I remember talking to JoJo, if you will, that you had an event that I just did a quick MC. Mitch Ryder, the Detroit Wheels, were performing, and it was before your golf outing. And I remember Joanne and I talking, and she said that you guys would go for walks in the morning, and she would say to you, "How are you doing?"
I think it's hard for her to read it, okay? Because again, you have like the mask face, for instance. It's just like a blank stare.
Yeah.
My voice may be really light that day.
Yeah.
So
But you may be in a really, really good mood, and she may not recognize that.
Right, or in a bad mood.
And she may not recognize it. Okay.
That,
Right.
and by the way, I did not mention it's one of the parts of Parkinson's, the caregivers is so huge. And, we're trying to assist the caregivers in understanding, how they can help people.
Yeah.
That whether it's a loved one or it's a friend or it's just somebody that you want to volunteer your work for. But, Joanne and I try and go for walks every day. I would say a minimum of 3 miles. We can get up maybe 10 miles. We walk. It's really therapeutic. It's good for me. I can try and practice my gait and not shuffle. And it's good to just walk with your friends. And she certainly is that, at least.
Yeah.
And your wife, and communicate. You don't always have to communicate, but it's just cool to walk, and it feels better. It's uplifting to be outside.
Yeah.
Feel that wind and that long hair that I used to have.
And that's a picture I'm going to put up, by the way.
Okay, you got one left. So that was 2 questions.
All right. No, I actually have 2 left. I have 2 left. Is there a website for your foundation?
Yeah, it's KirkGibsonFoundation.org.
Okay.
KirkGibsonFoundation.org. Yeah.
All right.
KIRK Foundation.org.
Here's
we're there's all kind of information on there. We continue to, learn things. I've been all over the United States. I've been with great groups. Muhammad Ali's group is down in Phoenix. We've done some things with them. Michael J. Fox and his organization, and Deb Brooks has been unbelievable. The Michigan Parkinson's Foundation. I mean, there's people all over it. We've been to London to the Cure Parkinson's Trust and talked to Helen down there. We just saw them a month ago. So, we're trying to, there's so much going on. Again, that's why I'm trying to get people to collaborate together. There's no reason for us to all be doing our separate little experiments and not share with somebody that could help us, take care of things a little quicker.
Here's the final question for you. You're going to go...
Final?
Yeah, I'll let you go. Jeez. It's not like you're having...
No, that was an inference to you. You don't know what final means, Kenny?
No, what does it mean?
Okay, so we're out having a cocktail. I go, final?
Yeah.
Okay, you said, okay, this is our last one, and then you have that, and you feel that much better. So you go, final? That means you're having another cocktail.
Wow.
Or whatever.
So you and I are being a couple of madmen. Yeah, that's right, whatever. Speaking of whatever, so are we going to the MC50 together?
Actually, I can't do it because I got to go out of town.
Oh, man. 2 shows.
I am. There's supposed to be something going on at Third Man on the 30th. I hope to come to that. Yeah, we had MC50 on the calendar for months and months and months. There's a World Series game going on right now.
Yeah.
And I was asked to come attend one of the games, and that's when. When the 50th.
Are you going out to L.A. or are you going to Boston?
L.A.
Okay.
Yeah. And it'll be kind of you'll know at the end. It's going to be kind of cool.
So I don't have to use this in the front end of my setup for this. Kirk Gibson is probably the most incredibly loyal, devoted rock and roller I have ever met in my life. I mean, he goes across the street after a Tiger game to the Fox, the Fillmore, the State, wherever it might be, and he goes to see himself a great rock and roll show. And I know that you live and die with rock and roll. So I don't think a lot of people know that. You really do love rock and roll, don't you?
Well, I like the music.
Yep.
There's different things about the music. There's the words, and really sometimes you can hear them and understand them, and sometimes you can't. Songs are stories, but I really like the instrumentation. I like what it does. It kind of takes me. I wouldn't say I was born with a lot of rhythm, okay?
Yeah.
But it does it, and I do. I'm very introverted in my thoughts sometimes, so I get to a concert. It's really good. But the coolest thing about it is my wife. My wife is like, she's like almost. I would call her like a music historian. But it's a fun thing that we do. We go all over. We watch shows all over. The Stones, we saw them, we've seen them in Michigan State. We've seen them at Comerica Park. We saw them in Chicago. We saw them in Paris, France. And we've seen them other places too. But it's really cool to see the different venues in the different cities. You know, have you ever heard a musician say, "Hey, welcome. Good to be in Cleveland," when you're in Little Caesars Arena?
Right. Yeah, that's the old the Spinal Tap sign. You are in Detroit.
Yeah.
In fact, you remember when Bruce did that here in Detroit? Said, "How do you doing, Cleveland?" And it was like, no, you're in Detroit. So I mean,
yeah, well, should have gave him a ride over there. I've seen Bruce. I remember seeing Clarence Clemens in the rafters of the auditorium at Michigan State. Kind of one of my funnest, coolest. There's one band that I'd really like to see right now would be Led Zeppelin.
Oh.
But for some reason they can't get together.
I know, they can't get them. Yeah,
now, was it 76 or 7 they were in Silverdome?
I'm going to go 76, but somebody's going to call me out on that, but I'm going to go 76.
Well, so, I somehow got asked to be security guard for the stage. So several buddies of mine from college went down to the Silverdome, and we ended up, they had this, it must have been like an 8-foot wall, maybe, I don't think it was 10 foot, right in front of the stage. And behind that, there was these 55-gallon barrels filled with cement. So I stood on the cement barrel behind the wall between Led Zeppelin and the crowd.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. I had a good seat, and my ears are still ringing. But that was really cool and fun. I'd love to see him again. Now, I'm kind of a fast-paced guy. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Agree.
We had a big concert season last year, but we can't go into that because we were at 51 minutes and 32 seconds.
I got 50. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay.
I could only have 35. So
No. You got a full hour, man, and I don't have to do any editing at all. I'm just going to let it roll.
Hey, you know what?
What?
You're awesome as normal, as usual. The thing, by the way, that we did with the party that we had before the golf outing.
Yes.
And that was fun. You introduced me. We hadn't seen each other for a while.
Yep.
And you still got that same cool voice. You got a way better voice than I did.
Well, no, I know. And it was great. I saw Alan Trammell. I saw a lot of great people. When are you going into the Hall of Fame?
Well, I'm in the football, college football Hall of Fame. I don't deserve to be in there. I mean, seriously, don't even try that.
Who's going to win L.A. Boston?
I wish I knew. I hope the Dodgers do.
Yeah.
I hope somebody can hit a home run. You know, they're down right now, and I remember we were down 2-1 with 3 outs to go, and Doc Gooden on the mound, and that thing in your mind was saying, "Oh man, you're going to be down 3-1. You're bummed out. You don't want to give in." You know, sometimes your mind wants you to give up on your dream. It wants you to say, it's 3-1, whatever. You gave it a good try. You had a good year. Once you start justifying, I'm like, no, don't give in. Don't justify. You challenge your teammates. And Mike Scioscia hit a home run. It might have been his third of the year. I ended up hitting a home run after going 1 for 16 in the first couple of games. And you know what? Next thing you know, it was 2 games apiece. We won that game. I hit the home run at 1 a.m. in the morning. We had a noon game the next day. I hit a 3-run home run that game, and we won that game. So we went back. Instead of being down 3-1, we were up 3-2. That's how quick it can happen. Yeah. That's the cool thing about the game, but it teaches us life can be the same way. But you got to be the guy to say, get out of my head, and don't let that crap into your mind. And if it does get in your mind, hopefully you got a good buddy, good teammate, good wife to kick you in the rear end, or you do it vice versa. That's how it works. That's the whole team concept. And that's just what I believe in, and you know that, Ken. And it's really been a pleasure. And I've spread enough BS and wisdom, I hope today, to at least get some good conversation going.
Yeah.
And we'll do this again.
I love this, and I'll never forget, you were the first guy that I ever met that told me there is no I in the word team. That was the first time I ever heard it. It was from you, and it was many, many years ago. So,
well, I repeated it. Somebody told me that.
It's not obligatory. I love you like a brother, man. I mean, I'm just so proud of you, happy for your success, and I wish you nothing but better health and whatever all of us can do to progress the movement to find something that will make everybody suffering from Parkinson's better. Let us know what we can do.
Okay, one last thing, okay?
Yep. Oh, I thought I was...
No, I get the last thing. It's your show, but you can trump me if you want.
No. Go.
One last thing.
Yeah.
How many years in a row did your wife, Ann, send us a Christmas card and put your name on it? That is amazing. How many years do you think that is?
I'm going to go, let's see, 80, close to 30?
It's got to be more than 30 years.
I know. People don't believe
You talk about getting lucky. I mean, you're way over.
No, you and I both way overachieved.
But speak for yourself.
All right.
We're talking about you, okay?
All right.
Hey,
you know what? Will you be safe out there, please, and have a good time in L.A.?
I'm going to be safe, and then JoJo and I will come over, and we'll take you and Ann out to dinner because we owe you, okay?
Let's go see a rock and roll show.
All right, buddy.
You can subscribe to the Ken Calvert Show podcast on Apple iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. It's also available by going directly to www.thekencalvertshow.com. You can reach Ken at kencalvertpodcast@gmail.com. The preceding program is the property of Ken Calvert and may not be rebroadcast without the written permission of Ken Calvert.